Okay, so now we are recording. So, hi everybody. My name is Erin. I teach college, and I'm also a member of the Society for Creative Anachronisms. In that, my name is Aldgytha, and I'm a string geek. I'm actually a tablet weaving laurel, but if it's string or something close to string like wire, I like to play with it. So actually, give me a second. I'm going to grab something real quick. Okay, so predominantly what I'm going to be doing in this class today is we're basically going to go over 2 stitches. And we'll go over also kind of the basic construction of a hat, because hats are probably the simplest, easiest thing to do nail binding with. Okay, but nail binding can be used for gloves, socks. You can make an entire sweater out of nail binding if you'd like. Okay, so, and I will monitor the chat if you have questions on chat. However, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions directly as well. Chat, I usually have a little bit of a delay, though I am used to watching it. Okay. So
hi. I'm just here to make sure everything's going okay for you.
It's all going horrible, can't you tell?
Well, we've already had our first official problem. John accidentally posted his link, Zoom link, in the intro to spring class.
Yeah,
so I have to hang
that.
out. Yeah, I have to hang out his link and send people to Susan's link. So any problems you got are easier than that.
Okay, so good luck with that.
Alrighty.
Okay, so several of you are actually very familiar faces. Some of you I have not had the pleasure of meeting before. If you have questions for me, my email address, I will actually post in the chat, is aldgytha@earthlink.net. And I can be found on Facebook under Erin A-Alderson.
As if we can spell Aldgytha?
Huh?
As if we could spell Aldgytha without seeing it in front of us?
Well, that's it, but it's listed in the chat now.
I know.
And it's okay. One of my former barons used to call me Miss Buy Me a Vowel Aldgytha. So
and you're not even one of the harder names.
No, I think it's actually fairly straightforward and easy, but I'm also the only one of them that I know of in the SCA. So I have one other friend in the Outlands whose name is Alga. So very close. Okay, so I'm actually normally, when I start nail binding classes, I usually start with the Oslo stitch because it's actually it's an easier stitch. I'm going to do it a little bit mixed up today. I'm actually going to teach you guys Mammen stitch. So that's what this one is made out of, in part because it's a little neater and you can see your progress a little easier. It doesn't look like you've just made gobbledygook. Okay, so rather than stressing you out at first with this little worm that I'm making doesn't look like it's supposed to, I'm going to go ahead and start with one that is very clear. You can actually see what you've actually, it looks organized. Whereas the one for Oslo stitch, this actually looks organized now because I've pulled on it a lot. But when I first make it, it looks like that. Okay, so I don't want to discourage you guys. Sometimes it will not look like it's supposed to look at first. And when in doubt, literally just stretch it out. You go like this and stretch it. It will forgive a number of, sins. Okay, for the most part, it's going to be easier for you if you start off with a not like super, super thick, but just like a regular weight yarn. My personal preference is for wool, but a lot of people have wool allergies. If they have wool allergies, acrylic works fine. I will go over the basics of joining. However, I'm going to tell you, especially in the era of COVID, people don't want you sucking on the yarn in their hat. So I am going to recommend using knots instead. Plus, some fibers, especially some of the acrylics, don't do well with one of those lick and twist it joins. And that can become very frustrating. Okay, before I actually get started on this, you don't actually have to have a needle per se. This is one of my favorite needles. These are readily available. Several vendors carry them, and it's made of bone. I like it because it's slick. This is actually a nail binding needle that one of my brothers in the mid-realm made for me. So Kith made this for me, and it is based off of this Roman needle from the 2nd century and stuff. So he made me one kind of like a replica of it because I don't actually want to use this one in my nail binding, aside from the fact that it has a little bit of rust. Okay.
Is that an actual antique?
Yes, that I found it in my grandma's stuff actually.
Oh, wow.
And it
That's so
even
cool.
says in her handwriting, 2nd century.
Ha!
So being a bit of a history geek, I think that's super cool. So most of the time when I teach this class, I just take regular tapestry needles because these are readily available. You can also find nail binding needles or make your own out of wood. Aside from that, there are other things that you can use. So anything that you can thread with the yarn, you can actually use as a nail binding needle. So you can literally use this paper clip as a nail binding needle, or these little hair barrettes. These actually work really well for nail binding. Okay, so you're not limited. Don't be afraid to be creative. The one thing I would caution you on, especially as you're getting started, you don't want it to actually be sharp. Okay. You're gonna get little kind of almost worn spots from running your needle along it. If it's actually very sharp, you're just gonna keep impaling yourself and it's not gonna be fun. So in order to get started, I am going to recommend that you start with probably about like an arm length of yarn. I'll tell you right now, I'm incredibly lazy, so I tend to do a lot longer pieces of yarn. As you get started and going and doing it more and more often, you will find yourself doing the same thing. And you'll find there's a balance between making a piece too long that you wind up with knots and making pieces too short, whereas you have to keep adding more yarn onto your project.
Does it actually have to be off of the ball of yarn?
You want it off the ball of yarn.
Okay.
Because you're actually working towards the part that would be on the yarn. Because you need to have one part of it. Hang on just a second, let me unthread this one. You need to have one part of it threaded onto your needle, but you're going to actually, the first part that you're going to start working with is the end of the string. So I really wouldn't recommend trying to leave it on a ball of yarn. Yeah, I haven't actually ever tried playing with it that way. I did think about trying to figure it out at the beginning when I first started, just because, hey, if I don't have to cut it into small pieces, why not? But I didn't really actually see any feasible way for that to work. But if you come up with a feasible way for it to work, please share it with me, okay?
Okay.
So, okay, so getting started on Mammen stitch, you are going to take your hand and just kind of hold it up like this, okay? And then I'm going to place I'm going to use my thumb to hold it against my top 2 fingers. Okay, and then I'm just going to wrap it around. Okay. So we're going to have it wrapped around like that. Everybody see? Yeah, Laces carries them. I get mine from my friend Mammen. And then I've seen them multiple other places. So yeah, I like the bone nail binding needles. I also like my little brass one just because my brother made it for me, even though it stabs me repeatedly. And also here, from here, you're gonna actually just grab the top of these threads with your other hand and pull it off. Okay, so I'm just holding my loops like this. Everybody with me so far? I'm also willing to repeat this as many times as you need me to. Okay, so now you're going to transfer it back to the original hand. You're just going to pinch the top of those loops between your thumb and your forefinger. Okay, and then this is when we talk about the working thread, this is the part that's connected to the needle. Okay, so let it fall behind towards the back of your hand just to get it out of the way for the moment. Okay, so then now what we're going to do, and I'm going to try and turn a little sideways so you're not looking at the back of this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take from the back, I'm going to stick my needle through, okay, through those two loops, and then I'm going to twist down. And then I'm going to come back up in the loops. Okay, so I am going to wind up with what looks like a figure 8 on my needle. Can everybody see that?
I definitely have a figure 8.
Could you
Perfect.
repeat that last step?
Okay, so from here I have 2 loops. Hang on, I'm going to actually see if I can just do this left-handed because it'll probably be easier. One of my actually 2 of my apprentices are lefties, so I wind up learning how to do an awful lot of things left-handed. So from here, you're going to stick this through here, tilt down, and then you're going to come back up through the loops again. So now you're going to wind up with this figure 8. That make it a little easier to see?
Yeah, I just missed it a little bit.
No, that's fine. A lot of times when you first start, this part gets confusing for people. But once you get this part down and start moving on to the other stitches, they actually wind up being fairly easy. Okay. Also, there are multiple ways of casting on. Okay. And starting various different forms of nail binding. Some of them you can just draw, make kind of a pretzel and slide loops over your over your thumb. If this one I think is actually easiest for most people to see and pick up. So this is the one I've started using in my classes more, because otherwise they tend to get confused before they get the thread on the needle. And I don't like that level of discouragement. Okay. So from here, now that you've got your little figure 8, so you have your figure 8 here. Okay. Now I'm going to actually shift my thumb on top of that figure 8. Okay, so I'm going to go back out so I can go to the other direction again. I hear a kitty cat.
Sorry.
No, don't be. I love kitty cats.
She might get screamy.
My cats don't like to join my Zoom classes. Okay, so I have my loop, and I'm actually going to put, oops, sorry. I'm going to slide my thumb where it's holding my 2 loops, and I'm going to shift it to the center of that figure 8.
We can't see it.
So you're holding it?
So on that figure 8, I'm putting my thumb onto it. So I'm holding the figure 8 in place.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
can you spotlight yourself? Because when other people are talking, the camera image shifts to them, so we're losing what you're doing.
Okay, hang on. Let me shift it to speaker view. Or
You
hang
can
on.
No,
pin her.
you need spotlight if you can do it.
If you
I don't remember if it gives me this right now. It does not give me spotlight in here. Hold on.
if you hover over her image, there should be 3 blue, like it's a blue box with 3 dots. If you
Yeah,
click
you should
that,
be able to
you should be
actually
able to pin her.
choose. Oh, hang on. I'm spotlighting it. Okay.
Okay,
That help?
yes.
Okay,
hope.
so I don't normally have to do that because I'm normally sharing a PowerPoint. So
Thank you.
not a problem. So just to reiterate, you're going to start here and then you're going to wrap around. So you're going to wind up having 2 loops and then you're going to switch it to this hand and then you're going to switch it to this hand. Okay, so here's my 2 loops and I'm just going to put this out of the way for the moment. So from the back on these loops, I am going to go from the back here, tilt down, and then just come back up inside these loops. Okay, so I will have my little figure 8. And then I'm gonna take this part and drop it and just shift my thumb on top of them. Okay. From here, I'm gonna take this, my working thread, and I'm gonna move it back over so it's draped over my thumb and my needle. And now I'm just going to go ahead and pass my needle, pull my needle through, keeping the yarn pinched between my thumb and my forefinger. And when I do that, I am going to allow this working thread to form a loop on my thumb. Okay, does anybody need me to repeat that? Okay,
Yes, please.
like I said, I will repeat as many times as you want. Especially since I know it's kind of awkward to see, but I haven't actually set up a separate camera because I don't need one for the stuff I teach normally.
What do you normally teach?
I teach neuroscience.
Ah. Okay.
So drugs and behavior, biological psychology, behavioral neuroscience. Oh, and I teach scientific writing.
No
So-
wonder you can, no wonder you're on Zoom all day teaching.
Yeah, I've been on Zoom since 9 a.m. this morning.
Scientific writing is in like essays and articles.
As in research writing. I'm a scientist.
That's the one thing I never got in school, the actual research part of writing.
Well, I'm not going to volunteer to teach it right now. But yeah, I teach that. It's interesting because I actually don't mind it, but I find that most people, when they do it, overthink it. They try and make it sound complicated when the whole point of research writing is to make it as simple as possible and leave out all the adjectives.
That I could probably do.
Oh.
When you do the loop over your thumb, should the figure 8 look like a little butterfly or should it be nice and tight?
It doesn't really matter if it's a little bit loose.
Mine's a lot loose.
You can just snug it up.
Okay.
Okay. So
Um,
if here in, for your 2, make sure, and maybe if you want it tighter, just pull it tighter and have your fingertips closer together before you do your pinch, and that'll give you slightly smaller loops. So on, and then shifting it to here, let this little tail be sitting down, and then just move this to the back of your hand.
Right, that we got.
Okay, so here I'm going to actually do it so it's from the back, just so it's more straightforward to you. So I'm going to go from the back, and then I'm going to twist down and then just go back through. Okay, I know I'm obscuring part of it with my hand, but see how from the back is what that looks like. And now from the front, it'll look like this. Okay. So that's what it's not like tight, but at the same time, it's not, it's not falling off the needle, but I mean, it can be a little bit loose. You do not need to have it super tight. Okay. And then I'm going to switch, and I'm literally just going to pinch the center of the figure eight with my needle, with my thumb, and then my index finger. And it doesn't, you don't have to actually pinch very tight to keep the thread, the yarn between your fingers. Oh, cool. And there's some, Kimberly shared a PDF of various starting loops too. So that's the kind of thing that you can always play with, because you're going to find some of them are more comfortable for you than others. Okay, but I personally find that this one usually is less confusing to students.
This is the same
PDF
one
is
that
the
I do.
same one.
Mhm. It's the same one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just
Oh,
if-
that's perfect then, because then you're showing it. It's also, I did include these steps on my Mammen handout. Photographs of each side, each part. So that will hopefully help as well. I tried to make sure that it was very clear on my photographs. So from here, I'm going to then just literally just push the needle through. Okay. So literally pushing the needle through, though, actually, I need to have put my working thread back over here. So, and if you didn't
Okay,
do
that's
that,
that's the second time you said, and now I have to put my working thread over here. And that's where I get lost, is which over here? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
move the working thread. You know how I told you to put it out of the way behind your hand? Now it's going to go
Okay.
in front. So now my working thread's going to be crossing across the top of my thumb. So let me
Okay,
back
how do
that
I?
part up. That's fine.
I'm just,
No, I'd rather you ask. This, like I said, it sometimes is confusing at first, but it's also one of those things that once it clicks really well.
and am I holding this in my left hand now and pushing through with my right?
I'm
Or am I-
okay. I'm partially ambidextrous, but I'm still right dominant, and I usually use my left hand as my working surface.
Okay. So you wrapped
Um,
around your left hand.
But like I said, I have some of my students are lefties, and I wind up having to learn how to do things left-handed for them. And sometimes it's just kind of fun to see if I can. So from here, I'm going to do my okay, I've moved my working thread is basically behind.
Right.
So just so it's out of my way. And then I'm going to come back around, make my figure eight. Then I'm going to shift my thumb and pinch my figure eight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that working thread that's attached to my needle and just move it back to the front of my thumb. Okay. So it'll
Okay.
pass over the needle and your thumb.
Okay.
Okay. Now go ahead and push the needle through. And what'll happen is the loop, the working thread is going to form a loop around your thumb. Okay. With me so far, or should I be repeating this?
I came in a little bit late, so I'm totally confused.
Okay, well, tell you what, I'm going to go on to the next step and then I'll go back over this again. Okay. So from here, while you've got that one loop on your thumb, if you look behind, you will see if you kind of fan out what you have back behind the pad, you'll see that you actually have two loops here.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle here. I'm going to stick them through those two loops.
I kind of ended up with 3.
Just pull, you probably have, just fan it to where you have the two closest loops. And just pinch any other extra loops under your finger, just to get them out of the way. Okay, so passing my needle through these two loops. And then what I'm going to do again is I'm going to, now I'm just going to take and I'm going to twist back in towards my thumb like and then I'm just gonna pass this down underneath this loop as well as my working thread.
Okay, I just got lost.
Okay. So from here I
Wait, I
have,
gotta undo.
that's fine. Like I said, I'll go back through the whole process again. I just want to get some of you that are
Yeah.
catching it. I want to get you started on the actual just working stitches.
That was good.
Okay, so from here, pass through the loops, and then literally just bring your needle down here and pass under this loop and then under the working thread. And now when you pull it through, you will have a second loop forming. And you want it to form on the side closest to the rest of your thumb. So you want the old loop closer to the tip and the new loop to be behind it. And you can always tell which one's the new loop by if you pull and tug it, that's the one that'll get tight. Okay, so this is actually all you have to do to cast on. So now when you do stitches, you are going to take your needle and you're going to lift this loop off your thumb, and then you're just going to pick up the closest loop behind your thumb. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up that closest loop up behind my thumb, and now I'm just going to twist my needle to run it below my loop and my working thread again. Okay,
Sorry,
and
can
then
you
I'm
do
going
that
to
again?
push it through once again, leaving me a second loop.
No, you can't sneak through.
Okay. There will be a bit of a buildup behind your thumb. Don't worry about it until you've done about 4 or 5 stitches. Okay, it will look like a mess now, but later on it will actually turn out to be prettier than you think. Okay, and then from now on, all you do is each time you take this loop off, pick up the closest loop behind it. Okay, so I've just passed through one and then passed through the other, and now I just twist down to get underneath my the thumb loop and the working thread.
Is the nearest loop the previous stitch?
Yeah, so what's going to happen is, so this is the loop you formed last time. Now I'm forming another new loop behind it. Okay, so now it's going to be, this one is my newest loop. And I can tell which one's the newest one, because if I tug this, that's the loop that gets tighter.
I have done something very wrong.
Okay, I'll start over from the beginning. I just wanted the people who had picked it up to be able to keep going.
Okay.
Okay, so Nalebinding, unlike knitting and stuff, does not just, you can't just pull a thread and have it all unwind. However, especially if you haven't gone very far, it's not hard to back it out that much.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'm left-handed, so can you, when you show from the start, are you able to kind of show
I can
in
do
reverse?
left-handed. That's
Thank
fine.
you so much.
Yeah, no, I can now bind left-handed or right-handed. I think you may have heard me complain about my students who make me learn to do things like embroider or left-handed.
Yeah, I learn everything backwards, and with this, it's not working out if I look at it.
No, that's fine.
Image, so yeah,
that's fine. And actually, if you look at my Oslo stitch handout, I actually include left and right-handed on it. I just didn't have time to do that for my Mammen one. Okay, so give me just a second to finish untangling. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys have done knitting or crochet?
I've done both.
I do everything.
Yeah,
Done
I
both
do
as
as well.
Some of you, it's going to be fairly similar to it, but just not quite the same.
I'm an expert knitter, and this is driving me batty.
You know, though, when it clicks, like I said, you're going to be like, oh yeah, no, this is makes perfect sense. Because
Oh, I
you're really
understand.
just connecting a bunch of loops.
It makes sense. The problem is I'm not coordinated enough to get it started.
It gets easier,
I'll trust you
just
on
like
that.
anything else. Okay, so from here, so now I'm going to use this hand instead. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by pinching the thread with my thumb and just holding it against the palm of my hand. And then I'm going to wrap it around the top 2 fingers twice. Okay. Oops. And then I'm not going to let go of that part. So this is what it looks like. Okay. And now I'm going to take my other hand and I'm going to pinch these 3 threads together at the top and pull it off my fingers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift it back to the original hand. Okay, so I'm just holding these 2 loops. You have this little tail, and then this part is currently sitting kind of out of the way. I'm actually going to shift it this way so it's not interfering with my working space. So I'm literally just kind of setting it aside to get it out of the way. So from here, I'm going to go from the back through these loops and literally just twist down and then come back up through those. But you see what I did when I just literally put into these loops here.
You okay? Yep.
And then I'm going to twist down and come back in through these loops. Okay. So when I'm done, it will look somewhat like this. Okay. So you can kind of see how it's a figure 8. Is my lefty with me so far?
Yeah, sorry, my hands are all tangled. I was trying to unmute.
No worries and stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to go, let's see, making sure I'm going the right direction. Okay, so now once you've got that figure 8, you're going to pinch it between your thumb and your forefinger. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this working thread and I'm just going to move it back to in front of my thumb. Okay, so now I don't want it in the, now I don't mind it being in the way because I actually want to use it. Okay, and then from here, I'm then just going to push my needle through the loop, the figure 8, just keeping that pinched between my thumb and my forefinger. And when I'm pulling it through, it will actually naturally try to go around your thumb. Okay, if it slides off, just scooch it back on. So as you can tell, my doing it as a lefty doesn't believe me. Okay. And then from here, I'm gonna look and I'm gonna have 2 loops that are closest. Okay, so if I look here and I kind of separate out these various different loops, these 2 loops are going to be the ones that are closest to this loop around my thumb. So I am going to pick up those loops by sticking my needle through them. And then I'm going to just twist down and I'm going to go under the loop that's on my thumb. Hang on. And then the loop that's the working thread. So I'm going to go back like this. And I'm going to make that one sit on my thumb. Okay. And then from here, I'm just going to go ahead and continue pulling it through. Okay. So here. And if you want to, you can just kind of make sure anything that's getting in your way, just smush it between your thumb and your forefinger. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 loops on my thumb now.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to take this loop that's closest to my thumb and I'm going to pick that up. So This loop is going to come off my thumb, and I'm going to look behind for the closest loop. And sometimes I find that just taking your fingernail and just kind of brushing it over it will help you discern which part is the loop that's closest. And then you're going to literally just pass this through that loop. So you've passed through the loop that was on your end of the tip of your thumb, and then the loop that was closest behind your thumb. And then from here, I will just twist again and go under my the loop, and then under this working thread. So most of the time you're going to be running this nail binding needle across the top of your thumb, and it's going to go under any loops that are on your thumb and under any working thread. Okay, so at this point, then you go ahead and pull this one, and then you're back to where you started with 2 loops. Okay. So that's my my lefty version and stuff. I assume I have some people with, who are right-handed that would probably benefit from going back over that again.
I'm afraid I was hopeless and I've had to cut off a big knot twice now.
You know what?
I did too.
It's a learning experience. It's fine. Okay.
I think
Be patient with
a thing,
yeah,
but
be patient with yourself.
It looks like I might have dropped something near the end, but I got to the end of my thread here, or my yarn, so I kind of botched something in the middle there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't.
But
I was gonna say, I don't. Are you holding it up? Because I can't see everybody.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to hold it up with.
Okay. I see you, Susan. Right?
Oh no, this is Gita.
Oh, hey, Gita. Oh, I see you now.
White and behind it that might. Oh no, it's fading out with my background. But anyway, if I put it in front of my face, I think it works a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I kind of had it, and then I think I lost it down in the end there. So
okay, so now, okay, let me do some quick stitches real quick, and I'm going to show you, because this is going to be where it turns into magic.
Okay.
Okay, so for those who need help going back on, lay it across your palm, wrap around your top 2 fingers twice, shift to your other hand to use it to take off the loops, then shift it back to your original hand.
Okay.
Move your working thread out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from the back, just insert the tip of your needle, twist down, and then come back up through these loops, forming your figure 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shift you notice your thumb is actually fairly close to that. So you're just going to shift your thumb a little bit, like a 1/2 inch forward. And also it's holding the figure 8 in place.
Yeah.
And now you're just going to push the needle. Oh, before you do that, you're going to move your working thread back. And now you're just going to push your needle through, forming a loop. And if it starts fighting you, pull on this part and just smooth out any tangles. Okay. So now, if I look on the inside, I've got these 2 loops that are actually sitting next to this thread. Okay, if I actually look at my working thread, or the loop on my thumb, it actually will head towards those two loops. So I'll take my needle, pick up those 2 loops, and literally just twist it back to where I can then place it along the top of my thumb under the loop in the working thread again. And once again, letting it form a loop. But this loop will sit behind the first loop you formed. And this is actually all there is to casting on. So from this point, what you're going to wind up doing is each time you're going to pick up the loop that's closest to the tip of your thumb, and then you're going to look behind. And like I said, you can fan it out with your fingertip, and I do that, and I just kind of pinch that other loop out of the way. I then have just one loop. Okay, I'm going to pass my needle through that loop too. So here's my original loop that came off my thumb, and here's the loop that was hiding behind it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to twist it down towards my thumb and pass it back along the top of my thumb under this loop, under this loop, and under the working thread. Okay, is that
So
working a little bit better?
Is
Yeah.
this looking correct then? Something like this?
Hang on. You got to tell me who's talking so I can
This is
scroll
Sarah.
through. Huh?
This is Sarah. This is Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, hang on just a second.
I'm trying to get it in the picture too.
Okay. Ah. Yeah, actually, that does look right. Because what you're going to wind up with, okay, it's not going to look like this at first. It's going to look like this after you sit there and stretch and pull it. Okay. So I'm going to do, like, if you notice behind my thumb, it does not look very pretty, does it?
It's just a big old knot.
It looks like a big old mess. So once I do like 5 more stitches real quick.
Can you take a look at my knot? Because it's kind of like the opposite of yours.
Opposite of mine?
Well, these ones right here kind of went weird. A J.
Oh, hang on just a sec. I just saw your hand up. Okay. No, actually, it's probably fine.
Okay.
Okay. And sometimes at the beginning, it'll be a little bit messy and stuff. And if you look at this part, so here's where here's like the end. I have to, this part I haven't really cleaned up, but I can clean this up by pulling loops and moving them around.
Okay.
I just mucked up.
Yeah. So your beginning is going to look kind of mucky, but then it'll smooth out.
No, it was partway in I mucked up.
Huh?
Partway in I mucked up. I dropped everything and picked it up wrong.
Yeah. It does get a little, it feels fumble fingered at first. And actually after a while, you'll get very comfortable with it.
And this is still the casting on, right?
That was the complete casting on. Once you have 2 loops on your thumb, that was the casting on.
Okay.
At this point, you're actually making, you're actually doing your stitch complete. So take off, when you do take off the loop and then pick up the one right behind, that is literally all you're going to be doing for the rest of the project that you're making.
That loop right behind, is it supposed to be very small compared to the thumb loop?
Yes, it will be smaller than the thumb loop.
Okay.
Usually.
So I go through the front and then behind it, I go down. Back
Okay.
up,
So from here, okay. So if I've got a mess of stuff behind my thumb, right?
Yeah.
You can see there? If I fan it with my fingers, if I go like this, this is the loop that's standing out because it's closest.
Okay.
And you can actually find it sometimes by looking at your, if you look at the thread, your first loop and stuff, you can actually see that it leads into that loop. If you're having a hard time telling which loop to use.
Okay.
So if I were to look at this loop, so if I'm following this thread from my first loop, if I follow it, it leads right to this loop. Okay.
Aha.
Does that help a little?
In it.
Yeah.
Okay. That way that'll help make sure that you're doing the right loop. Okay. And then literally you're going to need to do 5 or 6 stitches before you can make it look normal.
Okay. So basically you go through those, you twist and go back through the one that's over your thumb.
Yep. Well, and just back under. So under this loop and then under the working thread. So you'll form a second loop. And you're just going to keep doing that. You're going to basically make a chain of these stitches. So once I get like 4, even sometimes as early as 4, but honestly 5 or 6 stitches in of just repeating that same stitch, you will actually get, hang on just a second. What's going to happen is it's going to build up behind your thumb. Just let it fall. You don't have to hold it after like the first stitch or so. So what I'm going to do is now, so I want to make this look a little less gobbledygook. And Mammen actually looks prettier than Oslo. Oslo looks really funky behind your thumb. But I'm going to literally take this. I'm not going to pull this string because that'll actually tighten other things. And I'm literally just going to pull this and just keep pulling it and stuff. And that will actually straighten it and even everything out. So you see now, you can actually see the stitches.
Yeah, mine is definitely not doing that. I've got a bunch of big old knot.
Okay, so on this point, start over.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I taught myself from books. Yes, that's very nice. Nick, yeah, looks good. Okay. How far along are we on who's got what?
I've got nothing. This is Ainsley.
Okay. So
I lose-
Lily, that looks good.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, okay, so
I had to start over again, and now I'm.
it's fine.
I don't
Yes,
understand
yes,
where-
Rachel. I saw you raised your hand.
Rachel, you're on mute.
I have the first loop around my thumb, and I was wondering what direction to pull this.
Okay, so you
like-
have just one loop around your thumb, and then you're going to pick up the two behind the thumb. Hang on, I'm trying to find you. Hold on. Let's see.
Sorry.
I have a bar with a few people, like 4 at a time. So I'm scrolling through that bar to verify who I'm talking to since I'm spotlighted. There you are. Okay, so you've got one loop on your thumb?
Yes, one loop on my thumb, and then the figure 8 that I had made is right here. I don't know what.
Okay, so from that, you are literally going to go, you're going to be, all of your working is going to basically be going kind of this way. So here you're going to have loops back on this part of it. You're going to pick up 2 loops, and then you're just going to twist back towards your thumb. Or towards the top of your thumb.
So I don't know if that's visible.
Oh, you're
So-
okay. You've just pinched the figure 8?
Yes.
Okay. So from pinching the figure 8, you are going to, you're just going to keep it pinched, and you're going to keep just pushing that needle through where it's at. But you want to make sure you bring this working thread to the front of your thumb.
No, I have the loop from pinching. I have the loop in front of my hand.
Oh, it's on your thumb. Okay, I did see that. Okay, so from then, all you're going to do is you're going to take this needle and you're going to look for 2 loops behind your thumb.
I've got 2.
Okay, stick your needle through them. Okay, so if I had 2, I would just stick it through like this.
Okay.
And then twist towards the top of your thumb.
Okay.
And then you're going to make sure you go under that loop that's already on your thumb.
Okay.
As well as this working thread.
Okay.
Okay.
And does that loop come off your thumb right away, or does
you can leave you can actually let it come off your thumb right away, or you can leave it on your thumb. I find it easier to leave it on my thumb.
Can you show me from, this is Jennifer. Can you show me from like how you have your hand held right now?
Mhm.
And you just got the loop from the figure 8 onto your thumb. What direction? Can you show me the direction that you pick up those 2 loops behind your thumb again?
Okay, so I'm going to do 2 loops, but I'm going to basically let this loop slide off. Okay, so that way I can pick up 2 loops. So from
Okay.
here, I'm going to pick up these 2 loops. So literally I am basically, the needle is pointed from the tip of my thumb going backwards. So like this. Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm going to tip it And then I'm going to go under the loop I have on my thumb, as well as the working thread.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so does that second loop go in front of or behind the one that was on your thumb before?
Okay, when I form that second loop, okay, so here's my first loop sitting close to my tip of my thumb. Now, as I draw this through, okay, see how this is going on? I want it to sit behind my the first loop. So it's going to be closer to the rest of my body than the tip of my thumb.
So this is Jennifer again. Can you see my two loop or see my hand?
Hang on, you were towards the, let's see. Where are you at? Hang on. Okay. So hold it up a little closer. You're actually off screen. Okay, now I can see. Hang on. So
Okay.
you have one loop or two right there?
I have one loop across my thumb, and I think these behind are two.
Okay, so yeah, pick those two up by pushing your needle in
From
this
the
direction.
front like this.
Yeah, so if you put your needle at the top of your thumb, at the tip of your thumb, and tilt it towards those loops and pick them up.
Okay, pick them up. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna pretend that I'm moving this so I have two loops. So I'm gonna take this loop and this loop, and then I'm gonna just twist. Okay, so I'm gonna twist it towards my body.
Got it.
Okay, and then I'm going to manipulate the needle so I can then slide it under that loop that's already sitting on your thumb, as well as this working thread. Okay, so literally I'm going to just slide it down here.
Got it.
Okay.
And do you have to re-grip it in another place? Why do you?
No, I mean, you can just shift your hand on the needle to be able to pull it through. Because you're going to just pull it through and leave a loop like you left before. Okay.
I've done a few of them. I thought like that, and I'm still getting a giant knot.
Okay, then it probably means you're picking up the wrong loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it looks like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and now just keep picking up this loop and one behind.
So the one closest to the tip of your thumb.
Yeah, the one closest to the tip of your thumb, and then the loop right behind it. So these two. And you still do the tilt it towards your body and then slide along the top of your thumb under the loop and the working thread again. You're literally just going to keep repeating that motion for the rest of the project. Okay, so I know I had somebody else who needed to restart. I'm going to actually go up into participants real quick. Do me a favor, show me your hand if you need me to go over casting on again. Because I don't know who all's got, like, you know, a little chain or not. And I know sometimes it seems very familiar. Okay, do you guys know where show hand is?
No.
Okay, so if you actually click under participants.
On my view, it's under reactions, just so.
Okay, reactions will work too. Because reactions gives you thumb up and other stuff. So yeah, we can do it under reactions as well. So I saw somebody said somebody got it.
That was me.
Yeah, see, so once you click, you're like, oh my gosh, it does work.
Yeah, and I stretched it out, and this one is like, oh, hey, this actually looks like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But yeah, it usually takes, like I said, at least 5 or 6. And then after a while, you also are going to get more used to doing this.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I know it is frustrating.
First.
it's frustrating to start this at first for most people. And the nice thing for me is that I'm not running around to 30 different people on it at a table trying to show you each how to do this, because that's what happened the last time I taught this in person.
So can you just talk to us about the knot to attach the next piece of string for those of us who've gotten to the end of ours?
As a matter of fact, I came prepared.
Oh, good.
So I have this piece. Also, when you take it off your finger, oops, hang on just a second. Hey, sweetheart, I'm in the middle of my class. Your dad didn't let you call him back earlier. Okay. Oh, okay, she hung up. Sorry.
That's what kids are supposed to do.
Well, no, actually, her dad probably hung up. It's just one of the cooperation is not our strong suit.
Ah.
So, which is how it is. And now I got to just find my thread. Like I said, I'm lazy. I go really long threads.
But you're also experienced, so you know. I'm sure you didn't do that long in the beginning.
Actually, I'm kind of impatient, so I did.
Same.
But I also pretty good at convincing string to do what I want it to. You know, I'm one of those people who finds trying to get knots out of things actually kind of fun. So
I think I got it. Oh.
Okay, I like that sound. Okay, so I
think
know
I got
that.
it.
Okay, so I'm gonna look through to see who's raised hands. So Gita and Jay. Okay, so you guys need me to go. Okay, I'm gonna jump in here really quick to show how to start going in a circle.
Yes.
And then if you need me to, I'll jump back down. Okay.
Okay.
So when you've got enough to go around, I'm going to close this so I can actually see again. When you have enough of this to go around your head, you actually are going to want more working space. Okay. Seriously, give yourself a few inches, because otherwise you're going to make your hat for a kid. And there are many children who have hats from me now. You know, because I thought it would be a lot bigger than it was. Trust me, add a few inches because there will be some take in.
I've done that.
Yeah. I don't think I know anybody who's done nalebinding who hasn't.
Several times.
You'll turn out a lot smaller than you think. So, like I said, add a few inches. Okay. I'm actually making this particular one for somebody who has like a 24-inch head. So I'm actually like, you know, I'm 22 and a half. So I've actually added a lot more for this particular individual. And then because my ex makes me sit in the car a lot. So I asked people who was interested in hats, since this is what I do to pass the time when I'm stuck in the car waiting outside his house for my daughter to come downstairs.
Yeah, I like the one you just did for Kevin. And I'm only saying
Kevin,
the
gray one.
I'm only saying Kevin because otherwise I'd probably say Yoshio.
You know, for what it's worth, yeah, I have a hard time remembering to call him Octavio too.
Okay.
And I've known him honestly since I was a little kid.
Yeah. Well,
So,
he and Meg were the last champions of Caldera Keep.
Okay.
And it took me a year to finish his favor. I only got one done for the event.
Okay. So when you take this, you want to make sure, if you notice it'll twist really easy. So you want to be careful, and you want to take your fingers and roll it and keep it so it's staying the same direction. Okay, because you don't want it to twist. That's the other reason I'm doing Mammen, because Oslo is super easy to do it upside down. And then I'm going to bring that part over to my finger. And what I'm going to do is, using my needle, I'm actually going to pick up, I usually do the first 2 stitches because I find it sits better. And I'm going to literally pick up 2 of the stitches from here. So just like that.
Uh-huh.
And stuff. So I've picked those up. Now I'm just going to repeat the normal stitch that I would normally do. So I'm going to take this one off my thumb and pick up the first stitch behind my thumb. And then I'm once again going to pass it, oops, without dropping it. I'm going to pass it along the top of my thumb. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull until I get my second loop. Okay. And then the next one, I'm going to make sure that it's still, I triple check this because I can't tell you how many times I've done it wrong or where it's been twisted. So it doesn't hurt you to check multiple times. And now I'm going to go from on this part, I am literally going to pick up this next loop. So I'm going to pick up this loop. And once again, I'm just going to repeat the same step back, the loop closest to the tip of my thumb and the loop hiding right behind my finger or right behind my thumb. And then once again, just complete the stitch as normal. And I'm going to just keep doing that around the circle of what will become my hat. Okay, so. Hey, kiddo, I'm actually in the middle of my class that I told you about.
Sorry, I only have a few seconds anyway.
Okay, you got to get back to homework?
I've eaten all my time for the day, so yeah. Well, dinner
Okay.
and then bed.
Okay, well, good night. I love you. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Okay, sweetheart?
Okay.
Okay, good night, sweetie.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, since we're interrupted anyway, can you show us that first needle again? My boyfriend's making me one and he wants to see it.
Which one? This one or my bronze one?
Yeah, your bronze one.
Okay, yeah, that's almost exactly what I found.
Okay.
Yeah, if you weren't here for
Small
this
group.
part, this is actually a Roman needle that it's modeled off of.
He's looking, he's just off screen. Yeah, he just printed me this.
So that's cool. But,
sorry to interrupt. But
oh, no, not at all. That's fantastic. Okay, so now that I've got this part, we've got this part going. Also, watch your tail. Sometimes it'll get caught up. Just pull it out. And then you're just going to keep, like I said, each time you go, you're going to pick up the next stitch. And then you're going to go through this top one. And then the one loop right behind your thumb.
Sorry.
Okay, that's great. The thing that I was actually asking about though was the knots to join a new piece of yarn on.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
On that, what I do is I literally take this part right here and I tie a new piece on.
Okay,
and I
so
tie
right
it
at
as
the
close as I can to this part.
Okay.
Okay. And I mean, I leave tails on it too, so I can untwist those tails. Hang on just a second. Let me jump back. So for those of you who have a long one, that's how we've just gone over how to kind of add more onto it. So let me jump back to my earlier piece. Well, actually, how many people need me to start over? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that I ran out of thread.
You did just run out of thread.
I just ran out of thread. The good old fashioned way with scissors. So I'm literally going to take this here and I am literally just going to tie a knot. And I'm going to promptly tie it too short to that side.
Like a square knot?
It could be a square knot. Honestly, most of the time you're not going to put enough pressure on it that it's going to be a problem as long as it's a knot. And I actually unknot them when I finish my hats, because what I do is I will unknot them and then I will I'll leave just a single tie and then I'll weave the loose ends into the inside channels of the hat on the inside. So I tend to make them fairly tight just because, but yeah, so now I have my knot that's at the top of my working thread. And now, as I fling things. Okay, so now I've got my thread here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue my stitches like normal. Pull this one off the tip of my thumb. This one, pick up that loop at the back, run it down, and it's just going to go under like it would normally, under the loop and under the working thread. So I just pretend my working thread isn't any different. Okay, but now if you'll notice that loop, that knot will be in the middle of this loop. Okay, I don't worry about where it falls because you can move it to the inside of the hat really easy. And it's a lot easier to do that after you've made some progress. So from here, I'm just going to keep going. And so now the loop with the tails is the closest to the tip of my thumb. And then I will go ahead and pick it up and I just act like it's just the loop. I kind of ignore these things other than sometimes to move them out of my way. Okay, so here, now I'm going to pick up the loop and now I'm going to go ahead and push it through. I find at this point, it's usually cool to just slide those tails kind of back under my finger because then I avoid catching them on everything that I do.
I finally got the 2 loops from the original figure 8.
Woo! Awesome.
You mean you don't let your tail just like curl around to where your working yarn is?
Actually I have done that sometimes, but then I find it's a pain to work it out.
That was it was kind of a joke.
I'm sure. No, I totally got it, but I wasn't kidding when I actually say that sometimes I get that lazy. So, but yeah, so then once you're going and you keep going, even when you pick up this loop that has the knots, you can still clearly get underneath inside the loop. And now you can actually still just keep going. And you're literally just going to wind up with those 2 little tails and the knot just sticking out of your working surface. So if you recall the one I was doing over here, just leave them for the time being. As you continue and you build up more layers, periodically I'll do a few inches around of the hat and then I'll go back and when next time I run out of thread, what I'll do is I will untie this top part of the knot and then I will just take my needle, thread this part on and run it into the channel. And then the same with the other side. And especially if you're doing something with wool, it will felt in there and it won't come undone. Okay. So traditional joins for those who actually would like to do them Okay. So for an actual technical join, if you want ones that don't have a knot, you can literally break your thread. It works better if you break your thread this way. Okay. Because if you cut it cleanly, it doesn't work as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically kind of unply this. Okay. And then I'm going to unply this part. And you can do this with like a sponge or whatever. I tend to be lazy and I wind up with a lot of wool fuzz in my mouth. So here I would just literally kind of overlap these. So all the pieces that are going one way, they're just kind of overlapping around each other. Does that make sense? And now what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to suck on it. And if you take your tongue, kind of roll it around against the fiber, it'll start felting it faster. And then what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to sit there and twist it.
You're literally binding it together. That's cool.
Yep. So this is actually the traditional way of doing a join, where you literally are basically kind of just spinning the yarn to itself. This does not work well if you're using something like superwash, which is notorious for not felting. It also doesn't work particularly well with cotton. And some acrylics are stickier than others. It works fantastic with wool, other than I just pulled it apart. So even though when you've done the joins, you get usually pretty good at them, and but they are still going to be a weaker spot. So when you're doing that part where you've got the loop, just baby it a little bit.
I'm literally sitting here beside me, like doing it right here.
I usually use,
honestly, I find most people find it easier to just do a knot.
I usually end up using a small bowl of water next to me instead of sucking on the wool. So I just have a small bowl of water and then felt the crud out of it in my hands.
Yeah, that works too. And that prevents you from having the issue with, saliva.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does work well with alpaca. The one thing because I've done a lot, actually the first pieces I did were with alpaca, because a friend of mine has an alpaca farm. And the one thing I find with alpaca is that it doesn't stretch the same as wool, depending on how it's processed.
It also usually doesn't have as much memory, so it doesn't hold its shape as well.
Yeah.
And if it's not processed to remove the guard hairs, it's scratchy.
Yeah, this is not with the guard hairs and stuff. So it's really nice to work with. It weaves fantastic, and it makes nice Nalebinded hats, but it doesn't behave quite the same as wool.
No, it doesn't. I spin and weave, so I have alpaca and everything. So yeah, it's weird to work with. But
it actually weaves up very nice.
It does.
It's not quite as, for tablet weaving, it works really well. Because it also makes a super soft feeling band.
Yeah. I've only done it with 4-shaft weaving, but yeah, it's
same difference, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's very soft and very luxurious. So, but it depending on the yarn, it frays a little bit easier too.
Yeah, I haven't had any fraying issues. I get sometimes, like with tablets, I get abrasion on the fiber sometimes, but it's no worse than some of the thinner wools that I use.
Yeah.
Or some of the silks that I use.
Okay.
Okay, so do I have anybody I need to start back at the beginning for?
Sorry.
Don't be apologizing. Okay. So who was that? Okay, perfect. Then I will get back on for you. And hey, what do you know? I have a brand new beginning again. Okay.
Oh, and just so you know, I gave up for the night because I figured 7 botched tries was enough, and I went back to my knitting.
No worries. But you have the handout that has the pictures. Yeah. You can also play with it. You can always contact me.
Yes.
Okay. I know that especially since sometimes, okay, it takes most people a little bit to get the first times round and stuff. So I'm going to go through with Jay, and then I know I had somebody who wanted to talk about the differences on other fibers and using thin fibers. So that was you, Kimberly, right?
No, this is Jewel, Susan Jewel.
Oh, okay. So, okay, so here from the beginning, are you right or left-handed, Jay?
Right-handed. I finally got off the figure 8 and found the 2 loops.
Oh, okay. So let me jump to that point.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I get everything except when after you find the 2 loops. Let's see if I can hold this. There. As I go, I get this hole. Oops, hole. This starts coming out really good when it's pulled tight. But in the beginning, there's like always a hole there at the beginning where I started.
Okay, yeah, what you can do is, so here, this is the one that I just started. You can actually twist on the very, very beginning. You can actually sit there and manipulate the loops, and you could either, when you join, just take any extra loose loops and work them into the hat.
Okay, so
really
I'm
messy. Or sometimes you can actually get it to where it works out fairly, fairly clean. So like this one, I've literally got one loop and stuff, but you can also undo the first couple of stitches.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, if it's not beautiful at the beginning, do not stress it.
Okay.
But yeah,
Can you
so on
see
this one, I just pulled out this one loop, and then sometimes I'll trace it back to where I can actually just pull this fold in and stuff. But otherwise, I will probably, if I've got a big loop like this, I will actually just work it into the channel of the other hat and use it to help pull this part a little cleaner. So
okay.
when I have, so at that part of the hat,
yep,
you're going to have a little bit of a lump, and I use those extra pieces to help draw it further into the hat, so the area that it started isn't as obvious.
So it doesn't look like you're going around and around. It looks like you've skipped up.
Yes.
So that is, no matter how many times I've done that, can be a common thing.
Yes. You will get, as you start getting the hang of it, you'll get like I said, I tend to go to where I just pull it to where I know I'm only going to have one loop, and then I can just tuck it in.
Okay.
And then I have other times where everything just aligns perfectly, and I wind up with this very beautiful, pretty beginning. And if I could tell you why, it would happen for me every time, but I don't know. I haven't convinced the string to work with me that well yet. Okay, so for those who are, okay, let's see. We have figure 8. Okay, here's my figure 8. So I'm gonna move the working thread to the front. So you said you're about to pick up your 2 loops, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have 1 loop already on the front on your thumb.
Yeah, I already forgot if I'm supposed to go through that loop or which direction.
Okay, so leave the loop on your thumb.
Okay.
And from the top of here, if you start with your needle just at the top of your thumb and then fan it out so you can tell which of these 2 loops you're supposed to pick up. And you can always tell which one's the 2 right loops, because if you look at the loop from your thumb here, it leads into them. Okay, so can you see this part right here?
I think so.
Yeah, so this part will lead into those 2 loops. That's how you know those are the 2 correct loops to pick up.
Okay. And just
so
go
here, I'm literally going from I'm pointing back along my thumb, and I'm just gonna pick up these two. Actually, I think I have 3 there. Yeah. Nope. This yarn just splits. So I'm gonna just pick those up. And then I am literally just gonna twist back towards the top of my thumb and then run it back under this loop and the working thread.
Oh, under that one as well.
Yes. And then that'll form your second loop.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The first time I was trying to start from going under the first loop.
Ah, okay. Yeah. You don't do that until you've done 2 loops.
Okay.
Okay. And now from this point, you're actually cast on. So from here, you're going to take and you're going to lift off 1 loop, or you can just throw that off and then pick up the closest 2 loops, which that would be one of. Okay.
Yep.
And then twist back to the tip of your thumb and run it underneath the loop and the working thread again. Once again, winding up with a second loop.
That's the point where it turns into a knot and I have no loops. I don't know if you can see that.
Try spotlighting her so you could look at it better, Erin.
Yeah, that would help. It's okay. One side is, you will find one side will look, you'll prefer the look of one side, but for Mammen, it's not really much different. Each side actually looks about the same. Okay, so who am I looking at?
Jay.
Okay, hold on. Let me find where I've got you.
I still have my hand raised for some reason. I don't know how to take that off.
Oh, hang on. I'm lowering your hand. That I know how to do. You know?
My boyfriend had to come put it up for me.
Okay, hold on just a sec. I'm going to, let's see, I'm putting you in spotlight. Yay, I can see you now.
Oh no.
It's fine. Okay, so hang on, I am going to back out this one stitch. Actually, I'm just going to pull this off the tip. Okay, so if this is behind here, if I run my fingertip over it, it'll kind of separate into somewhat
You have to
loops,
spotlight
right?
yourself again now.
Yeah, now I
Oh.
gotta find you.
But yeah, so you're literally just tell you what, you've got the loop here. You can follow that along.
Nope, still can't see you.
Hang on, let me put the spotlight back on me.
There you are.
Okay. So, oop, I don't want to rename myself.
Oh, I see. If you kind of just follow the threads.
Yeah,
back
so
around
the thread from the loop will actually lead you in to the correct loop that you should be picking up.
Okay, and there should be 2 loops there.
The first time there'll be 2 loops, yes. You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so from there, you're gonna pick up your 2 loops. So let me have 2 loops here. I have 2 loops that are picked up, and now I'm just gonna tip towards the top of my thumb again.
Oh, on the back side, I have 2 loops. So if I go through the one around my
both
thumb,
of those loops,
I end up with 3 loops.
just go through the first 2. Or you can just treat those as the 2. You can treat those as the 2 loops and just do all 3.
Okay.
It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Okay.
Okay. So then go ahead and then tilt toward the top and run it along the top of your thumb under the loop and the working thread.
Okay.
Okay. How's everybody else doing?
Okay.
Oh yeah, some of those are nice and long.
Did I get this? I pulled it not pulling the string at the bottom, but I pulled it a little bit and it's very springy.
Pull it a lot. You're actually going to pull it really tightly. So literally when I'm doing these, I literally are going like this and pulling really hard.
Okay.
That will forgive any number of things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Okay.
Rachel, are you trying to talk to me? You're muted.
I also have a bunch of good stuff, and then I'll have like a gap. So there's a gap there. There's a
Don't
gap
worry about
there.
those. You're going to get those at first. Some of those you can stretch out. Some of those are you probably picked up the wrong loop. Okay, because when you first start doing it, you'll sometimes get the wrong the wrong loop. If it winds up with a gap, yeah, when you get the weird, you get good ones and then you get some weird loose loops. Some of those, like I said, you can just fix by just pulling the hell out of it. But some of that's learning curve. So double check that you're picking up the closest loop. Okay. You can also find your place. Okay, so where am I at on this? Okay. So you can find your place. So I walked away from this bundle and stuff. So literally, if I look for where my working thread's coming out, I am literally just going to slide the loop next to it and the loop next to it back over my thumb. And I'm back to where I'm able to work.
Is there a good way to put your work down if you're going to be leaving it for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I find that initially I don't have to do it anymore, but it was not instinctive being able to find where I was. So if you have things like, you can actually take like any kind of clip and clip that, and that'll tell you which direction you're going. Okay.
That's clipping the two working threads, the two working loops?
The two loops, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully I think Kimberly was the one who had already done it before. Or was that Robin? I don't remember. I'm not on the Facebook view right now.
I was the one who was Robin was the one who asked about finer threads and how to deal with them.
Okay. So here's a piece of crochet thread that I just did Mammen stitch on. Okay. So I did that after you asked me about it.
Where do you pull? Because obviously your thumb is giving you a guide.
So what I do is when I pull, I basically retighten after I've pulled the loop off my thumb. So I've pulled the loop off my thumb and I've picked up that other loop. When I set the needle before I push it through, I tighten and tug that thread again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm getting an extra point of tension in there that is removing some of the width from my thumb. The other way you can do it is if you take, I have one of my friends actually, when I taught her to nalebind, she was just really uncomfortable having anything on her thumb. So she started nalebinding onto a stick. And you can actually use that stick as well. So I think she's using popsicle sticks at this point. And so those you could actually, instead of doing like a popsicle stick, which would be closer to like your thumb, you could also do something like a skewer.
Right.
So you can do a thinner material. I find on this, your stitches are a little stretched out. They're not going to be quite exact as the thicker wools will be, but this is actually very thin yarn and stuff. I chose the crochet thread because that's an extreme. It's just one of those, I just started pulling tighter. The very thick yarn, I don't generally have to pull very tight at all because it fills in really nicely. Okay.
I use a sewing bobbin. It's got sides, and I put that through my loops, and that's what I leave on when I go off.
Yeah, that's I find especially, I mean, like I said, I'm lazy now and I haven't been walking away from my projects that much because I sit in the car a lot right now. You know, not driving. It's just I'm parked waiting for things. And you know, so because I mean, I love my daughter dearly, but her father builds delays, and then she's also, you know, she's 16. She dawdles. You know, it takes her 20 minutes to leave the house. And you know, but yeah, so I found all kinds of weird ways to do it, to hold it in place. I've used a pen, because you always have a pen usually in your purse, right? So I've had, oh crap, what do I secure it with? And I've secured it with this, the clip for the pen. I've used binder clips, like the little squeezy ones. The one I just showed you, I used the little barrette that you can also use as a nail binding needle. So anything that will squeeze those two working loops together. And you always can tell which side to stick your thumb in through, because it's the side that the working thread is coming out of. Okay. So how's everybody doing? Everybody got the basics on this?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, nice. Oh, is that variegated? I love variegated for making hats.
It's not only variegated, it actually has areas that are not spun.
Oh.
So it's got
fun fiber.
Mhm.
Cool. For those of you who do spin your own yarn, you're probably going to be easiest if you're not spinning super thin. Okay, so I know there's a little bit of a trick to doing thicker and thinner yarn, and I know a lot of people, you try and push towards getting thinner and thinner as you go. This is the perfect use for using up your thicker yarn. You can also use a bunch of different scraps and make multicolored hats. So if you have leftover ends from yarn from other projects, or just a small piece of it, it's perfectly cool to actually just do stripes. I included my handout for Oslo, and Oslo, like I said, it doesn't look as neat. This is what it looks like. You see how you got kind of like some of those little gaps there? Those are kind of built into the pattern. If you use really thick yarn, Oslo won't have that much gaps, but there still probably be some. And the thing that's different about Oslo, hang on just a second while I put this back on my thumb. So in Oslo, you're actually not picking up as many, but you're doing the exact same thing. So when you start experimenting with other knot binding stitches, let me find my needle. Oslo is actually the same here. I'm just going to use one of the metal ones. So now instead of where you have that, you have like these two loops. There's two ways that I do Oslo, and one is sliding that loop off my finger and then just picking it up. Or I sometimes will pick it up off the tip of my finger, but I'm literally just going to pick this one up and then do the same motion that I did before. And literally, I'm just going to repeat that one stitch.
So Oslo doesn't pick up from the previous work.
Yes. The reason I didn't do Oslo first, though, is you know how you had gobbledygook after the beginning for the Mammen, but when you pulled it, it looked actually pretty okay.
Yeah.
Oslo doesn't look okay. Oslo still looks like you're not sure if you're really doing it right. And Oslo will give you, this is the texture that Oslo will give you. Okay. So you see how you do have some of those kind of gaps. This is fisherman's wool for those of you who actually, you know, are familiar. Most of you, if you do string stuff, are probably familiar with fisherman's wool. Okay, so this is what Oslo actually looks like. So in terms of making hats, I only do it if I'm using thicker yarn because I hate having the little gaps. And you can pull it tighter, but it does, I find it doesn't, you can't always pull Oslo tight enough. I don't think I could make Oslo work with crochet thread. I can make Mammen work with crochet thread. I prefer for hats, I like Mammen because it's very easy to see where you're at. It's easy to pick up stitches when you're doing subsequent lines. You can start from, on making a hat, you can start from the top. I always start from the bottom. That way I make it wide enough. And when it comes time towards reducing, you know, because I want to make this curve, I usually do about this much, and I'll start looking to where it starts kind of starting to gape above my head, and then I'll start every 5th stitch. Instead of picking up 1, I'll pick up 2 to start decreasing the circumference.
That was going to be my next question. Was
Yeah, so
how do you do?
So I start off by decreasing about, you know, every 5th stitch, I will pick up 2 instead of 1. And then as you get closer to the top, you're going to start reducing faster and faster.
Right.
Because from here, you're going to be like, oh yeah, let's do, you know, every, pick up 2 stitches every time. If you make a mistake and you wind up with this weird cone-shaped hat, you can actually cut it off by just following one of the stitch lines. If you follow one of the stitch lines and cut it off, you're going to have a little bit of fuzz to remove, but you will be able to find your working spot again. So the part where you have the 2 loops in the working thread. Okay, so if you do make something misshapen, that's how you can fix it.
I never would have guessed that you could just cut it off and
I'm kind of a professional troubleshooter.
that I know.
And I'm that because I'm really good at finding all the weird mistakes that nobody thinks of making. So yeah, I'm fantastic at screwing things up.
Well, that's why you're so good at teaching it, because then, you know, you can help us work through.
Well, that's one of the reasons why it's like most of you, I think everybody's actually kind of got it now, right?
I think I got it. I switched yarn.
Oh, that helps too sometimes. So that's awesome. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Look how pretty that is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is cool.
It actually
I will
kind of looks
confess,
like a
I
double.
had to
I'm not
give
sure
up.
if it's right.
So
Yeah, I think that was part of my problem is I was using too thin a thread for
yeah, you're
first
probably,
attempt.
it's always best.
But it's called what I had in the house without having to go out to the colder garage.
I can totally understand that. But yeah, on the Nalebinding, especially at first, you're better off with thicker thread.
Okay.
You know, you can it's easier to start getting tighter if you're already working from muscle memory.
Okay.
Okay. And the nice thing about Nalebinding is, yeah, it was complicated at first, and but before you know it, you'll be able to walk and do it at the same time. And aldgytha and a few other people who've seen me at SCA events can attest to this.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just, it'll seem complicated and then your hands will start getting used to it. And at that point, because I was intimidated by it, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know where my loops went. Scrap it.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. And then one of these days I just realized, oh wait, I can see those loops. Okay. So it's just like any fiber craft. Watch what your string is doing while you do it. And yeah, oh, nice. Oh, I like that red too. So I like red a lot. So.
Can you go over again how to start doing the circle?
Yeah. Okay, so
And I'm gonna have to drop off because my battery's about to die.
No
And it's
worries.
also like 11:40.
Oh my,
East
yeah,
Coast.
no, that's
All right.
fine.
Thank you very much. This was fun.
Okay, so yeah, and hopefully, well, we'll be posting this too. So if you need a refresher and you have handouts, and like I said, you can always contact me.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, so back to fine. Oops. The
I'm just
problem
gonna
when you've got like 4 pieces that you started with the same yarn. Okay, so when you wind up with your the loop, the working part. Okay, so I'm gonna go around this way. So holding the one at your working edge that you were used to using, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here you are going to make sure that this part is not twisted. Okay, because if it winds up twisted, your hat edge will be twisted too. So you're going to make sure that it lays straight, and then you're going to hold it up to the other end. Okay. Okay, so here I then we're from the very end of it, I'm going to pick up the 2. I usually start with 2 stitches, but if they're like messy, you can also use like 3.
It'll be the ones that are sticking off the end most.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and sorry, your hands are a bit off camera. I'm not sure which direction I'm
okay,
sticking.
well, I already started this one. So I can, I mean, if you want to give me a minute, I can back out and stuff. But literally all I'm doing is I'm holding this part up. And I just took, so if this is, actually, I'm going to take my end from another piece. Okay, so I have this end right here.
Okay.
So I've got, oh, huh, this is the one I cut my working thread off. So not as useful. Okay, so pretend I have this going on here, even though it's not going to actually work right.
All right.
And I have this part at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to make sure that it's square, it's not twisted. And I am going to take up these 2 top stitches. Okay, so you can either do 1 is fine sometimes, but I'm going to take these 2 stitches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pick those up. And then I'm going to just do my normal stitch with
Okay,
these
so you
other
come
loops
from
sitting on my needle.
From the back side towards yourself.
Actually from the, so how it's twisted around. So honestly, from the part that was closest to me, it's on the same side as my working thread, my working area.
So from the front to the back.
Yes, from front to back.
I think I got it.
Well, do the stitch and then see.
And then that just goes into the normal stitch.
It's basically just going to sit right beside it. So when I do a hat, I'm literally just basically building a spiral.
All right, I've done this with crochet. I should be able to do
It's
this.
the exact same thing as doing it with crochet.
Okay.
Or with knitting. It's just picking up, you know, the other line and then continuing your, and then, you know, pick up that other one and then continue your stitch and then move on to the next one in line and pick up that loop and then continue your stitch.
All right. Thank you. I gotta go. Bye.
Oh, okay. Hopefully everything went well.
I think I did pretty decently.
Well, like I said, do not be afraid to reach out. You can contact me in the Facebook event group. My email will also be up on the video, I believe, because I gave it to Lynette earlier, because she currently has my school one. And if you ever need to try and want to meet with me at a different time, let me know. And we can, you'll be like, okay, I got different yarn this time. Let's do this again. Or the video will be up. And you can always, both of my weaving apprentices, believe it or not, I got from online help. Because literally they would send me pictures of what they were doing. And I'd be like, oh, here's what's wrong. I have absolutely no problem with that. And if I don't know, I'm going to I'm going to really want to call you so I can help figure it out. Because that's a challenge and it's interesting. And I don't, I like to fix things.
Well, I hope to see you at a future SCA event, maybe.
Definitely. Yeah. Are you in Kaid or where are you at?
I'm in Kaid. I'm in Gildenholt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I used to live in Tustin. Okay. I'm currently in Drybergen.
Okay. I'm still new. I don't know where most of the things are off the top of my head.
Okay. I'm basically out by Riverside.
Okay.
But yeah, I spend a fair amount of time on the 91 and the 22 freeway though.
Yeah.
So, because my ex lives in Long Beach.
Oh, that's a schlep.
Yep. Yeah, everybody else is like, I don't remember how to drive. I'm like, I have no problem. I just like that my freeways are not quite as bad as they used to be.
All right, bye.
I can't believe I really caught on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so perseverance, guys.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people dropped at first.
Mentally, I understand it, but I've got to get a thicker yarn.
No, definitely. And you're on my Facebook.
Sport weight acrylic is not the way to start.
I'm a big fan of wool. I do things with acrylic. Oh, other fun things. You can actually embroider on Nalebinding.
Yeah. As I said, it was actually what I had handy with that's not devoted to another project without going out into the garage.
Yeah. So I made a pelican cap of maintenance for a friend of mine's elevation. So I embroidered little black ermine dots on white nail binding to do the fur thing.
Yeah.
And then did the rest of it red. That was actually kind of fun. I actually like how it turned out. And if I actually were likely to ever wear one, I just don't. I might make me one of those again. But
Can I ask who that was for?
That was for Meliska from Aidenville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was for Duchess Meliska's elevation to the Porter of the Pelican. And then I'm actually part of a sisterhood it's actually a lot of people in Aidenville, Outlands, and then we have some in Kaid and in the West and a few in Ontario and other places. And I actually just finished doing ones for where I actually embroidered the sigil because they have that basically the Templar cross white on black. And so I just finished embroidering the little cross on a black nail bound hat. So I'm doing a few of those because, well, it's like uniform.
Excuse me.
But I have like 30 people on my list right now. Because I posted on Facebook and said, hey, who would wear a hat if I made them one?
Somebody has a question.
Oh.
Yeah, that was me. I was wondering if you go to Estrella War.
I am currently planning on being at Estrella. I've been at almost every single Estrella since they started. And I've actually been on staff for Estrella several times.
Okay, I'm up in North Shield, but we're hoping to do either Gulf Wars or Estrella, depending on whether the border
I will not
is
be at
open.
Gulf Wars. If we are able to hold Great Western, I will be there. I'm already vaccinated. I was in the trials, so I've been vaccinated since October. So I know enough about the science to understand that does not mean I'm 100% safe, but it means that I'm actually safer than a lot of other people. So if we are able to hold Estrella and stuff, I will be there.
Okay, because we snowbird, and since we couldn't go to Gulf Wars this spring, we're going to hopefully go to Estrella. We were there
Okay,
last
yeah.
year and really enjoyed it a lot.
Estrella's
And
lots of fun, and it's all okay.
and-
Estrella's 6 hours from my house.
Yeah, it's a 27-hour drive for us, but we'll come down for the whole month.
Yeah, I went out to Northfield for Roder and Rodri's coronation. So
Roder and Yehuda?
yeah, oh sorry, Yehuda, yeah. So yeah, I was out there for their coronation. I actually have several Northfielders on my Facebook from that.
You might get another one tonight.
Oh, find me. I mean, I whine a lot about my students on Facebook, and
What I wanna
sometimes I
know-
post music and sometimes I post explanations about how COVID works and how vaccines are. But if that's the kind of stuff that bothers you, mute me.
I just want to know how you have time on top of mommy and school and all
I
of
don't
your
sleep
fiber
much.
stuff to do disaster coordination.
I don't sleep much. But I'm also very organized. And the classes that I teach right now, I already have all my class prep done. So I already have my exams written. I already have all that stuff done. And for my PhD, I'm not doing coursework. I just have to finish my research and my dissertation. So
Can you give us the title?
Okay. So what I actually study is I study synaptic plasticity. Okay. So I study your ability of your brain to compensate for other things. So what I'm actually doing is we have a sensory map that corresponds to like sensations of touch, right? It's inside of our head. Well, I basically cause denervation to occur, so I can then look at that where that cortical map moves, because area in the brain is not left to sit. If it's not getting input, that area, the map will expand and a neighboring area will take it over. So what I'm actually doing is I'm purposely causing that to happen, and then I'm looking at the specific molecules that are involved in that transformation and how it changes the electrical properties of that section of the brain. So I do a lot of electrodes.
I'm glad I'm not one of your test subjects.
Yeah. My test subjects are little and furry. And all and stuff. No, my background is behavioral and psychopharmacology. So so now I'm electrophysiology. So building up my toolbox for when I have my own research lab.
Which will give you even more free time.
Well, I'm already working as faculty as well as a graduate student.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like people will be like, just wait till you're faculty. And I'm like, is now a bad time to tell you that I am? You know? But no, I mean, the nice thing is my daughter's 16. She's actually really good at doing her homework and her schoolwork. She sits next to me at the table. She does her stuff. I do my stuff. So I don't have to write herd on her for that. And a lot of the things that I do otherwise, like I said, I've been doing them for a while. One of the classes that I've been teaching, I taught it as the supplemental instruction as an undergrad, and then in graduate school, and then I teach the same class at UCR as I do at Cal State. So it actually, a lot of times it's easier than you might think. So I am not really a superhero, contrary to what some people believe. I just apparently have good press.
I don't know. We think you're a superhero here in Kaid.
That's just because I keep you. That's because I'm your disaster coordinator. And honestly, on that, I can do my homework while listening to the fire radio. So that's not as intensive as you might think. It sometimes just means late nights.
Okay.
And knowing where people live. And I have the advantage because I've been around forever. I've been in the SCA now. I don't remember if I'm 42 or 43 years. So I know where people are and I know where people live, and I don't, oh, I should probably have stopped the recording. So,
I think isn't there someone that that Lynette is going to edit for
Yeah.
us? So yeah,
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, if it comes down to it, I can edit that part.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how long it will take people to post the video because I'm not part of that editing process. I'm going to be just taking the link that I get and sending it to her so she can then just download it.
Oh, yeah, I was just getting to the part about going around again, and so I was just gonna watch the video.
That's fine. But you literally, it's just like crochet. You pick up the stitches, then you're going to do your normal nail binding stitch, pick up the next stitch, do your nail binding stitch, then pick up the next stitch, and just keep going around in a circle.
I was just wondering though, is it now that I've connected the two ends, I'm going onto the stitch on top of the last bit?
Yeah,
I don't know if
so
that
it'll
makes
be the furthest away from your working area. Or it'll be that, you know, you're going to continue to the right.
I think I'm just gonna try this and see if it works.
You know something? You believe it or not, you can pull out stitches.
Thanks a lot, Erin.
No problem. And literally when you back up, I will back up if I need to until it's clear which are my loops and which is my working thread. And it's one of those things that just keep backing up until you run into one that's clear.
I can tell which is the working thread and which is the loops. I'm just not sure how to start on top of the last
Okay,
loop.
so this one I can show you because I've already done that part. So here, okay, so I have my part where I've got this attached.
Okay.
So where I'm gonna literally go working away from my thumb. So from here, I'm gonna move to this next stitch and I'm gonna pick this stitch up. Okay, be careful to only pick the one stitch up.
All right, so I'm no longer following, like before I was following, like it kind of, when you said it led to
learn how to.
where I'm no longer following that.
Oh yeah, this is picking up the other part that you're gonna be going beside.
Okay.
Okay, so you're picking up the top stitch in the row. Okay, so if you just stick your needle under and kind of wiggle, you'll be able to separate out that stitch. And then from, you get it, or?
I think I'm getting it. It just looks funny until I've done a couple.
It's gonna feel like you've got some weird thing hanging off of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so from here, then I'm just gonna do my stitch as normal with that loop already on my needle.
Oh.
So you pick up that, you basically pass the needle into that loop, and then now you're just gonna do your normal stitch. And that loop will basically, it'll wind up basically, the thread will wind up passing through that loop and securing it to the other section.
Okay, so now I kind of feel like I'm just making a third arm off of the loop. See how it's kind of making an arm off of it.
Okay, I actually have this twisted. Haha. Okay, so from here, give me a second to go back out of my stitch.
Well, thank you, Algetha, for sharing your skills again. That's Gita.
No problem. And I'm serious. If you're not sure, if like something doesn't click later and you're like, I had it, what happened?
Right.
Don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay.
It gets easier every time you do it.
Yeah, I think I caught on a little bit better this time, and I actually brought 4 different kinds of yarn and 2 different kinds of needles to try it out. And I think I figured out which one kind of works for me to get the hang of it. So I
Okay.
just need to keep trying to practice that, and I will definitely reach out to you if I get stuck.
Not a problem. On the Oslo handout, I have a different way of casting on. You can
Okay.
actually use the same way of casting on for Oslo,
Oh, okay.
but
I
literally,
downloaded both of those.
once you've done your figure eight and you've got your one loop,
Mhm.
you're literally just going to pick up that, go to your two loops and then literally just pick up the one loop and loop back.
Oh,
Pick up the
okay.
one loop and loop back.
Okay.
So you don't have to pick up the stitch behind the thumb.
Okay.
That's actually the reason I did Oslo after, is because
yeah, 'cause
then it's basically just leaving out a step.
Okay. Right. That makes sense actually. So I
Okay.
appreciate that. But thank you. Have a good night. And
Yeah,
I'll
you
keep you
too.
around for some of the other things.
Yeah, I've got 3 other classes that I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm hosting 5 different ones. So
Yeah,
on
I'm
Saturday.
just hosting my classes. So I was gonna be hosting the big hangouts because I've got an educational Zoom.
Yeah.
Or actually I have 2 of them. You
Right.
know that. I've hosted
Yeah.
events for you.
Right.
But I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.